You're listening to The Royally Made, a different kind of podcast helping you grow in power, purpose, and grace. Let's see what it really means to be a royal daughter. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar. You and a couple of girlfriends go to an amazing, life-changing women's conference or event, and you find new excitement for living life and finding your purpose. You learn about your royal identity and are finally convinced without any doubt that you are, in fact, a princess. You come home with a journal full of scriptures, a conference hoodie, and a new determination that this time it will stick. You wake up each morning looking into your reflection and speaking your newfound confidence at yourself. But as the days, weeks, and months go by, the reflection in the mirror starts to speak back at you. But this time, the words aren't so encouraging. The excitement fades and you write off the experience as just a good time. But let's face it, you live in the real world where pumpkins don't transform into magical carriages and happily ever after are simply words from children's books. If any of this sounds like your story, then friend, you are not alone. I want to start off by assuring you that this isn't just another podcast to point out all of the ways you don't measure up and list off all of the things you must do in order to become a better person. We have enough of those in our lives. But this is a different kind of podcast, one that shows you who you already are and gives tips and practical advice to help you not only begin to see this, but how to let it help you in your everyday life. And what is this truth? That you, my friend, are already a royal daughter of God, equipped with strength, purpose, and a confidence that cannot be shaken by this world. This is above all a podcast about hope. Because, let's face it, the castles of our lives are not always shiny spires reflecting the sunshine. Sometimes they become quite dark and in need of transformation. And who knows more about transformation than our main girl, Cinderella? While most of us grew up watching the beloved Disney version, scholars say there may be up to 3,000 versions of the classic tale, the earliest from 9th century China. Why are we so fascinated with this story of an overlooked and overworked girl stealing the heart of her prince and finding her happily ever after? Could it be because through her story, Cinderella transforms her ordinary into the extraordinary? And we hope that somehow our story could become more too. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking, that's all nice and dandy for you, Jessica, but I live in the real world, and fairy tales aren't something that will help me with my real, everyday, broken life. But before you write this off as a fluffy attempt to make you feel better, let me ask you this. Why do you think our hearts beat a little faster when we read a fairy tale? I know it's become really popular to debunk the fairy tale facade right now, but what if these stories weren't meant to point to your earthly surroundings, but rather to your eternal identity? There's a reason our hearts leap for joy when Cinderella defies her evil stepmother and makes her grand entrance at the prince's ball, or when Snow White's curse is broken by true love's kiss, or when Rapunzel discovers her true identity and breaks free of the tower and evil captor that kept her trapped her entire life. We settle for the curse on this world when our hearts long for a world we cannot see. Somehow we know there is more, that we were meant for more. Our hearts were created for eternity, and they will continue to point us to our ultimate story until our eyes are opened and our ears hear the words whispered beneath Once Upon a Time, in the beginning. I once read a story of an author who went to go visit a preschool, and she asked the young girls if they could be any princess, who would they be? And since the oh-so-famous Disney movie Tangled had just come out, of which I am a huge fan, most girls said, of course, Rapunzel. But one girl, when she was asked, thought about it for a minute and then replied with Mulan. And when they asked her why, she said, because she saves China. There is something inside of our hearts, even at a young age, that tells us that we were meant to do great things. But then, somewhere between tutus and college sororities, this world tries to convince you that there really isn't anything special about you. Certainly not anything royal. And you should probably just blend in. I spent most of my life plagued by fear and insecurity, The fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of being too much, and the list goes on. I was even a cheerleader all through middle school and high school, but the problems remained in my heart like a pointy rock that won't fall out of your shoe. I even thought getting married to a great guy would solve the problem, but if anything, it just made it way worse. It wasn't until I had a revelation of who I was and what it truly meant to be a royal daughter of God that I found freedom from fear, insecurity, and shame. I'll share more on my story in a later episode, but I want you to know that not only is this possible for you too, but it's way more simple than we think. We are certainly experts at overcomplicating everything. I am convinced through my own life and from many late-night girl talks with roommates over the years that so many of the problems we have and the ways that we feel we fall short are because we truly don't know who we are. And as a result, we live from a place of insecurity, fear, and knowing that somehow we are not all that we were meant to be. This podcast isn't for the superwomen who have it all figured out, but it's for the girl like me who wants more in her life than just striving to be like someone else, who has dreams that she doesn't dare tell other people for fear of what they'll think, and is tired of having to fake her confidence when she really just feels like a fraud. I want to be your girlfriend when things get tough, a thoughtful voice when life seems confusing, and the cheerleader of the dreams you still keep hidden in the dark. I want to help you truly get your confidence back in your faith, marriage, finances, dreams, health, your purpose, even in the everyday laundry piles and errands. Because when you find true confidence within yourself, every day fills up with purpose, power, and potential. There is so much in store for you in this podcast, including some of the most amazing women I have ever known. So you can expect plenty of hilarious stories and honest conversations, sprinkled with practical tips and perhaps a little magic to help you get your confidence back in every area of your life. In his dedication of the well-known book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, to his goddaughter Lucy, C.S. Lewis writes, "I wrote this story for you. But when I began it, I had not realized girls grow quicker than books. As a result, you are already too old for fairy tales, and by the time it is printed and bound, you will be older still. But someday, you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again." This is my hope for you, that your heart will begin to open up once more to the idea of royalty, and that you will begin to see your own unique value and beauty. Sister, you are already more than enough. You don't have to do anything to become better or to deserve love. Listen to this invitation God gives you in 2 Corinthians 6. "My dear, dear daughter, I can't tell you how much I long for you to enter this wide open, spacious life. I didn't fence you in. The smallness you feel comes from within you. Your life isn't small, but you're living it in a small way. I'm speaking as plainly as I can and with great affection. Open up your life, live openly and expansively. Let's go on a journey together to discover more about who you already are and the plans that are waiting for you to live. I've got some stories to share and dreams to deliver from my heart to yours, and I hope you'll join me in the adventure ahead."